Fucking OBS. Can I get some words, please?
Words, 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 words. How are my words? Do you like the sound of my
I
words?
love the
Are
sound of
these
your
words
words, bud.
sufficient?
Your words are mon caliente. I don't know if I used that word correctly or that phrase correctly, but whatever.
I don't even know what that
Yeah,
means.
neither do I, which is why I don't know if I used it correctly. It's like usually said about food, but it might be spicy. I don't fucking know. All right, Tommy, intro the show.
Oh wait, are we
Oh,
Oh, we not. Oh,
recording
yeah, we
first?
fuck yeah. Good. I'm good. You
okay.
guys go.
Okay. Clap sync.
Alex Clapsync.
All right, Tommy, intro the show.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Higgledy Piggledy podcast, your weekly dosage of very insightful news.
No, that's
And
Roll for Insight. That's a different show,
that is Roll for Insight,
which
but
is
this
not
is
weekly.
well, that just kind of happens when it happens. Everybody watch our show, Roll for Insight.
Yeah.
Self-sponsorship, shameless. Anyway, yeah, welcome to the show. How you boys doing?
You didn't intro us. Or yourself, for that matter. You just introed the show. No one knows who's on the show currently.
Should we start from the top?
No, I'm keeping this all in, baby.
Oh, great. Oh, great.
I might even go from the clap sync just to keep myself looking stupid as well.
Oh
Well,
no.
I am Tommy. Hello. This is my dear friend and roommate Pete.
Lodger. Well, no, you're my lodger.
Yeah, I suppose.
Hi, I'm Pete.
And this beautiful man, I am not sure where he is in the layout next to me. Currently for me, he's below me.
Same.
Okay. This is Alex.
Greetings.
I do believe that you two have been watching a show that I have not had a chance to watch yet. A little show made by a small game company called Riot. I'm not sure if anyone's ever heard of them. Arcane, based on the League of Legends game.
Indeed. So Pete and I basically know I know a little bit more about League of Legends than Pete, but really
I,
not that much.
I know there's Jinx. I know there's the redhead lady who dresses like a pirate.
I
And
don't even know her.
I mean, I don't think she necessarily dresses like a pirate, but she's red haired and she has a gun. And then there's KDA, and that's like my knowledge of League of Legends is like that, and that's it. So, yeah, basically
All
nothing.
I know is the only times I ever picked up that game, I got yelled at and felt sad. That is
Yeah.
my knowledge.
Yeah.
I don't remember playing League of Legends with you.
Many people yell at me, buddy. Mostly strangers.
It's just the state of the game, really. You play
Yeah.
League of Legends, you're in for it. You're gonna get flamed. But
So, how about the TV show then? Does that also leave you crying or?
Nearly,
well,
nearly.
Oh,
yeah.
It definitely pulled on the heartstrings. I didn't quite cry, but definitely. Let's just jump straight into it, I guess.
Yeah. Let me just make a disclaimer first. There's probably going to be quite a lot of spoilers in this episode.
oh, okay.
Well, I was thinking that either we don't talk about spoilers or we leave it till like later on, and we put like maybe chapters in the YouTube video so we can talk non-spoiler stuff. Then we go into spoiler stuff, and then people can
yeah. I
skip
mean, we
ahead.
can do that. That's
And
probably
I guess if Tommy
probably a good
doesn't
idea.
want to listen to the Arcane spoilers, he can deafen himself, and then I can just like walk over and give him a thumbs up when he's allowed to come back on. Or I guess he can just like keep the cameras on, can't he? But yeah,
Okay. In that case, there will be spoilers in this episode, but we'll try and leave it towards the end of each conversation, and we'll put chapters in so that you can skip past it if you so wish.
assuming we're allowed to do chapters on YouTube, because we're like a brand new channel, I don't know if that's like a restriction. If we can't do chapters on YouTube, there'll be a time
Timestamps.
code on the screen. Cool. Right off the bat, I think it's I don't know how it compares to the actual video game, so therefore it's kind of a weird thing to say, but I think it's probably my favorite video game adaptation to movie or TV show so far that I've ever seen.
That's high praise.
Not really. It's
Uh,
just
You ever watch Castlevania?
no.
no, I haven't. To be fair. Also,
Oh.
is Castlevania? I know Castlevania is a video game, but is the show based on a video game, or are they both based off of something else? I don't know.
I'm pretty sure they're based off the video game. It's I'm pretty sure the same people are making the Diablo animated show as well,
Mm.
which I am very much looking forward to.
Let me have a look. Oh, okay. Yeah, no. For some reason, I had it in my head that Castlevania maybe was a video game based on something else, but it appears to just be a video game and then the TV series. Fair enough. I've never seen Castlevania, so I can't say to that. But okay, that's one piece of competition, and then you've got everything else. So, yeah, no. Like I said, I don't know how it compares to the actual video game, so maybe a fan of League of Legends might disagree with that statement. I don't know, but for me, it's been beautiful to look at, really, really enjoyable, great voice acting, great story, great action, great directing. So yeah, across the board, it's just been like, hey, this is just a really good show. And if I didn't know it was based on a video game, it would still be a really, really good show. Which I think sometimes video game adaptations kind of lean on the fact that there are fans of the video game in the hopes that they will also be fans of the other content. So
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Tom.
I was just going to say that, to my understanding, the lore of League of Legends has always been quite a well done thing, but
Mm.
at the same time, it's not in the game much.
Yeah.
With it's always had interesting characters, so it's nice to see that get some love.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing about the show is that it isn't it isn't like other adaptations of video games, because obviously a lot of the video game movies that have come out are largely based off of the stuff that actually happens in the gameplay. But I think, as Tom said, they are quite separate. Like, you go into a game of League of Legends, it's literally the same thing, like over and over. Like, you're on one team, there's another team, you fight it out, and that's it. There is no real story involved in the gameplay,
mm,
and so, um, yeah, I think it's probably better that way, because you're not just trying to copy what is already in the game and just, trying to redo it in a movie form.
yeah,
They've just taken the characters that you play as and now they're expanding on them in a different media, which I think works really well, because especially if if you look at previous movies, like a big one is Assassin's Creed. They did try and make a different story out of it by using a different character, but they already took what we knew from the games and tried making a twist on it, and it just, I mean, I know some people like that movie. I don't know why. I think it just fell flat on its face.
I
Not
shut it
even
off.
Michael Fassbender could pull that one out of the lake.
No.
That
I shut it off after like 20 minutes. It was just
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
same.
that's
Like,
wise.
even like the most minuscule amount of time in that film is just awful. But even if you haven't played the games or know much about the lore, you're gonna learn about it in the show,
Mm-hmm.
basically.
Mm.
Maybe, and also, I was just saying before we even started the podcast, I've seen quite a lot of the like animated trailers and stuff for
Same.
characters and like other bits of lore for League of Legends, which are all like fantastic. Like, they're some of the best bits of like game cinematics that I've seen. Like, probably on par, maybe not even better, or maybe even better than some of Blizzard's cinematics.
Right,
Um
and that's the thing. It's super comparable to, right. It's like Overwatch again. Very
mm,
little story in the games, but the trailers are, people love the trailers. They're really, really
yeah.
well made, and they kind of reveal the lore and the story. And for a long time, people said you should make an Overwatch TV show or an Overwatch movie, and they haven't. And who knows if they ever will, if Blizzard ever recovers. But
Oh, yeah.
Seeing as they've already lost one of their new um, directors, I think
mm,
is the title they had. But
someone who
Yeah.
like joined the company 3 months ago and is already gone. So
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think they were maybe co-host for 2 months.
Mm. but yeah, I mean, and on that note of kind of the trailers to League of Legends, I heard this and I just looked it up just to confirm. A lot of the trailers have been done by the studio that made this show, so visually as well, it's just the trailers, but in long form storytelling. So rather than a 4 minute trailer, you've got a 40-minute episode of television,
Yeah.
which helps as well because you know there are things that look goofy when you translate a video game to live action, and there are things that just don't always translate. I mean, just looking at Uncharted, you've got Tom Holland doesn't exactly look the part of Nathan Drake. He doesn't exactly sound the part of Nathan Drake. And then, and I don't know whether the Uncharted movie is going to be bad. I'm not like trying to shit on it, but they showed the plane sequence at the end of the trailer from Uncharted 3, and that plane sequence is a really iconic bit of gameplay, and it looks okay for a movie, but also completely ridiculous, like on par with Legolas kind of juggling his way up those falling rocks in The Hobbit sort of thing.
Especially that it's Tom Holland doing it. Spider-Man.
There is a moment when he lands back on the plane and he does the Spider-Man pose. And yeah, so you know that doesn't help matters because you kind of go, well, that's you're trying to do the video game, but that works in a video game, and that works because one, it's clearly not real life, and two, you're in control, so there's a bit more interactivity between it, and Arcane doesn't suffer from that at all, because it is like exactly the same visual style as all of the other media that has come out for League of Legends, and also it's just brilliantly like directed. Like without getting into spoilers, there's a really cool fight sequence in the third episode, which is on par with a lot of fight sequences from live action in terms of like the quality of it. It's like really clear what's going on. It's really kind of adrenaline pumping. It's just a great fight scene. So.
Yeah, and I think the story so far has just been really tight. Again, without going into spoilers, it really does set up like loads to go forward, and I feel like they've purposefully done that so you don't know what is going to happen to a lot of the different characters. And I know that this is something that I'm going to get into after the non-spoiler segment. But there are a lot of characters that I've seen people speculating are actual characters from the game that, haven't turned into those characters yet. And it seems like there's no sure thing at the moment, which I really love.
I think the one that's fair to say, because it is in the trailer, so I wouldn't class this as a spoiler, is that this show is in part an origin story for Jinx. And
oh, for sure, yeah.
And you pretty quickly work out who Jinx is, but exactly as you were saying, they're not introduced to you as Jinx, but you very quickly go, oh, that's that character. Even me not knowing basically anything about League of Legends went, oh, that's that character. Maybe if you've never seen anything to do with League of Legends, you might not pick up on that, but like, it's a character that does bombs and stuff, and you're like, I've seen the trailer where there's a crazy lady throwing bombs everywhere. But, for instance, I have no idea whether Vi, who is like the other main character, I have no idea whether she's a League of Legends game character or whether she's just part of the lore. But she is? Okay.
Yeah.
Is she voiced by Haley Steinfeld in the game?
I don't think so. I don't think any, at least to my knowledge, I'm not sure if any of the characters are voiced by them. I haven't looked into the voice actors at all. I don't think it would be a stretch for them to bring back, like if they've been in trailers or something before, I don't think it would be a stretch for them to bring back the voice actors for the grown-up characters, which I'm sure they're going to go into.
Yeah, I don't know whether he is a character from the game, but Yuri Lowenthal, I instantly recognized his voice in the show, playing one of the main characters, and I was like, I don't know if you're in the game, but if you are, I bet you're voiced by Yuri Lowenthal in the game, because you don't hear Yuri do a lot of work outside of video games. That being said, he probably does loads. It's just not stuff that I see. But it's also bless Yuri Lowenthal's heart. He's a great voice actor, but he's such a recognizable voice to me because I grew up playing the Prince of Persia series. That I heard him as one of the main characters, and then I also heard him as a thug later on in the first episode. And then in the credits, I waited in the credits to go, that was Yuri Lowenthal doing the thug as well. And it was like, yeah, he plays Thug 1. I was like, yes, get in. So yeah. Um, yeah, and you were saying the other yesterday when we were talking about it briefly that you really like the color direction in the show as well.
Oh, definitely. I think that like it's just going back to what you said about, it being animated. It makes it easier to carry over the like visuals of all the other sort of cinematics and stuff. And I think that is one thing I love about this show is the contrast between darkness and like bold colors, which you can do in live action, but it like in animation it really stands out,
Mm-hmm.
especially because of like the way the actual characters are drawn and everything, with like all the bold lines and like the shading and everything. Like it just makes everything in the show stand out,
Yeah,
and like it gives me major sort of like apocalyptic punk type vibes. Or I guess it's more um what's it called?
steampunk.
Steampunk. Yeah, like steampunk vibes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but set in, a magical world, which is, I feel like the idea gets thrown around a lot in a lot of different media, but it's not always very well executed, and I
Mm.
feel like this executes it perfectly.
Yeah, for sure. Um, I did say to Alex yesterday though, Tommy, it was pissing me off watching it because I was like, oh, I've been planning a tabletop role playing game campaign for like 2 years now, and this is basically exactly the tone that I was going for, and now it's gonna look like I ripped off Arcane, and I didn't. I've been working. Well, maybe Arcane's probably been being developed for longer than 2 years, but like I was just like, God damn it, it's because the vibe I'm getting a lot from it, to be fair, is kind of like Dishonored, and that's definitely
Mm.
where I've been taking the inspiration from for my campaign. It also just means that I really want to see a Dishonored animated TV series. It would be so fucking good. Um, and it's a very similar art style to Dishonored as well. Although that being said, if you don't know League of Legends and you know Dishonored, they are very distinct. Still, it's not just like a copy and pasted world, but it's there's a lot of similar vibes. Um, yeah, voice acting across the board has been really really good as well. I really want more of this sort of stuff. This, my criticisms of, or not my criticisms, but my lamenting that Ahsoka's going to be live action, which I think we talked about in the first episode, and how I think she fits so much better in animation. Um, I really enjoyed Bad Batch, but I really wish Star Wars would just do loads more animation because it's so good, and Arcane is proving that you can do really good animation elsewhere. Um, Not that other people haven't proven that before. It's not like it's not a known thing, but I feel like animation frequently gets taken less seriously than live action for some weird reason.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's cool
I
to,
think
it's very much a 16 plus or 18 plus show as well, which is really cool to see. So,
I think I think the general sort of feeling towards animation has always been, oh, but that's for kids.
mm.
Well, it's been proven time and time again that it isn't, or it
But for
doesn't
some,
have to be.
yeah, but then for some reason we keep on needing to prove it.
Yeah, and it's ridiculous. Like it this like this type of show even makes me think maybe animation really is just the way forward, because you can literally do whatever you want in animation and have it, as you said, make it not seem just completely ridiculous like if it was in live action.
mm.
But then I suppose, if there were more sort of animations rather than just live action films coming out, the good thing about live action is that I guess a good way of looking at it is when the first Superman movie came out, you could believe a man could fly. It was a suspension of disbelief.
Mm.
And I feel like we're getting there. And I feel like we've become desensitized to a lot of different stuff because we just know it's just CGI and whatever. And we're just like, oh, that's pretty good CGI. You know, we're no longer just like utterly amazed by it. And I feel like we will get to that point again. We will discover a technology that will just blow our minds. But
Well,
until then,
I think the thing as well that sucks about CGI is how many times you hear someone go, "Ah, it's pretty good for CGI," and then you see the behind the scenes and it wasn't CGI, and you're like, oh, like that
hmm,
sucks. Someone put
Going off
really
of
hard work into like the set design or something for it to fall apart, and then someone just goes, "Yeah, it's CGI." It's like,
yeah.
going off of what you were saying about Superman and believing that men can fly, it does amaze me that we can do something as amazing as that and make it truly look like somebody's flying, and then at the same time they can't take a mustache off of his
Yeah.
face.
Yeah, I mean that's just
I mean, they can. It's just that they didn't have the time, and that's what it comes down to so often with this sort of thing. Is that if you don't have the time or you don't have the budget, then it doesn't get made, basically, or it isn't finished properly. And I'm pretty sure that the not Man of Steel, the Justice League reshoots were like a couple of months before the movie came out, and so that's how much time they had after it had been shot to remove his mustache. So
like I completely get the defense, but people have done better jobs in less amount of time,
mm,
as
Like the
been put
Mummy
on
2.
YouTube.
I suppose, but at the same time, that VFX house was presumably doing a bunch of visual effects as well at the same time for that movie. Like,
Mm.
I'm not trying to excuse it, I'm not trying to forgive it, but I'm just saying, like, it wasn't a visual effects person being bad at their job. It was, probably more likely just a whole other clusterfuck of things going wrong with that production. So,
Yeah, yeah, that's understandable.
but
Um,
but yeah, I mean, I think as well, live action does work for things that are supposed to feel realistic, and Arcane, it's not Arcane doesn't feel grounded, but Arcane is clearly not our world, and it's not trying to look
yeah,
like our world, so there's no need to do that in live action. But a superhero movie like Superman or the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it makes sense to do it in live action, because what you're trying to say is, imagine a world where these characters actually existed. Or Lord of the Rings, you want that world to feel tangible and real and like it could exist somewhere.
mm,
And you do lose a little bit of that in animation. But the flip side is you get to go to crazier, cooler worlds in animation. So, it's grander than real life in that sense. So, yeah.
yeah. I think that's the point I was trying to get at is like if you want something to feel as if it really is in our world, then that's what live action is for. But as I said, I feel like we've just become so desensitized to it that we still just can't like just see it as that.
Mm-hmm.
We do look into the CGI and everything, and we are just like, oh well, it doesn't really happen. It's just lost an effect. Which is why I feel like animation is a step in the right direction because you still can look at an animated show or a film or something, and they can do some crazy stuff. Like, I mean, I mentioned, very, very briefly in the last podcast that I saw the new My Hero Academia film. And again, I won't go into spoilers, but the mix of like 3D animation with the 2D animation in some of the fight scenes, it's just incredible. I watch a YouTube channel called Chris Stuckman,
Mm-hmm.
and he does like quite a lot of different reviews on like all different types of videos. And he made a review about the last My Hero Academia film, and he made the point of saying, like, in all these reviews of it and everything, people always say, "Oh, it's surprisingly good for an anime film," and he makes the point. It's not surprising. Anime's been around for years. People that watch it know it's good. It's not a surprise.
Yeah.
And I completely agree. I think like animation, it just brings something to the table that live action can't. And when they combine new ideas, well, not necessarily new ideas, but they combine ideas like 3D with 2D animation, it's just so different to what you see on the regular that you
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
can't help but feel like, God damn, this is awesome, you know?
If done well, it can be timeless.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, I think all of the new Star Wars films have looked great, but like Star Wars Visions has some of the most striking Star Wars imagery in
Mm.
years, because it's they can do a black and white episode with loads of film grain over it where everything looks painted, and then just have the lightsabers be color, and it looks amazing. And that wouldn't work in live action. I mean, you could do, in theory, an art house live action Star Wars film that's in black and white with film grain and then make it so just the lightsabers are colors. You could do that, but it would kind of just look weird. But in animation, it looks awesome. So I was also thinking, we're talking about superheroes, and one of the best looking Spider-Man films in years, and with probably, I would say, my favorite Spider-Man scene from any Spider-Man film, and probably my favorite Spider-Man film is Into the Spider-Verse, which is
Fair.
animated, and it's made to look like a moving comic book, and they do things like the change of frame rate so that Miles gets more frames as he becomes more confident as a Spider-Man, so that he kind of comes into his own. So early in the film he's 24 frames, and then he goes up to 60 frames by the end of the film, or 50, I can't remember exactly how many it is. But so things like that, you can't do that in live action. And that it's just, I would love to see an entire vast number of Marvel movies in the style of Into the Spider-Verse. And I know we're getting a sequel and a spin-off, but goddamn, I would happily trade off live action Marvel movies for all the Marvel Cinematic Universe to look like Spider-Verse going forward if they wanted to. Not that I dislike it being live action, but it's such a beautiful film to look at, and the leap of faith scene is fucking awesome. So yeah, cool. We're gonna talk about spoilers now.
Yeah, spoiler territory.
Do you want to actually deafen yourself, bud?
Yeah, I'll be right back for this bit.
Okay.
Yeah, we
Serves
messaged
me
you
right
when
for
it's
not
over.
doing my homework.
Yep. He is in the same flat as me, so he might still hear stuff. He might want to deafen himself and put on some music or something.
Yeah, I'll blast on some music. I'll try not to make it come out of your mic.
I mean, if you listen to it through your headset, you should be alright, bud.
Right. See you all in a bit.
Okie dokie.
Also, this fucking fuckface, man. We're not gonna hit the fucking Hunt Showdown event because of him. It's 1 day left.
Oh well.
We're
I heard
halfway
that.
through. I don't fucking care. Deserves to be
Anyway.
put on blast for that. Yeah.
So kind of what I was going to get into in the beginning, I suppose, was the characters and how people are sort of speculating that certain characters that are introduced in the show are actually in the game, but they have yet to turn into them. So a couple of those characters, well, there's a few actually. So uh as we've already kind of discussed, obviously Powder is Jinx.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't think it was confirmed in uh the game, and also not even really confirmed in the show that her and Vi are sisters. It is implied,
Mm-hmm.
however, it's never specifically noted that they are.
Yeah, and the other two, forgotten their names now. Milo and the other
Clagger.
one. Yeah, they're referred to as their brothers, even though they're not blood related. So
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
mean, obviously, Vanda, Milo says at one point, "Oh, Vanda's my father too." So yeah, they're not necessarily blood related. However, you do see in the beginning that Vi and Powder are together before Vanda even took them back. So
Mhm.
it is possible they're sisters, or they could just be like, well, they've got to be because
Yeah,
they
I
talk
think,
about their parents.
do they? I'm not sure if they. I can't remember that, but either way, it's incredibly heavily implied if it's not outright confirmed, because obviously they've also got a very special relationship. So yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so obviously those two are definitely in the game. Um, Echo, the white-haired boy, he's
Mm-hmm.
also in the game.
Oh shit, really?
Obviously, yeah. Obviously Milo and Clagger aren't because, seeing as we're in spoiler territory, they're dead, or at least they look to be dead. I mean, they both got fucked up and then buried beneath rubble, so it's looking like they're dead. Um, and Caitlin, who was Jace's
Mm-hmm.
little friend, assistant, whatever. Those two are in the game. Victor, he's in the game. So we've already seen quite a lot of people. Heimerdinger,
I don't
um,
remember Heimerdinger.
he's the fuzzy little scientist.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I fucking loved his speed waddle in the third episode when they're
Yeah.
investigating the. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, there's already quite a lot of people already from the game in it.
Mm.
Um, and some of which have yet to, turn into who they are. In fact, all of them, really. As we said, it is an origin story.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but they are recognizable,
Yeah.
and you get a glimpse into how they become who they are. But there has been speculation that characters like Vanda are gonna turn into someone from the game. Um, so I know there was a speculation. There's a character in the game called Warwick, who
Mm.
is basically like this giant sort of wolf creature. And if you take a look at sort of what people know about him that they've read in lore or whatever, he's said to be a mad scientist's experiment.
Mm.
Singed, who is another character in the game. Um, but he was a good man at heart, and he was like um, he was like a fighter who put down his sword to try and help people. And then he got experimented on and became this creature, which kind of, except for the blade, lines up with Vanda's backstory. Um, there's also a character called Dr. Mundo, who's basically like a purple Hulk type um character,
Mm-hmm.
who's just kind of like dumb, I think. He always has his like massive tongue just lolling out of his mouth in some dumb fashion. So I think he's meant to be dumb. Um, who kind of has another similar backstory. And also he looked incredibly similar to what Vanda looked like when he took the I don't know if it's potion or elixir or
The purple goop.
alchemical mixture.
Yeah.
When he turned into that form, he did look quite a lot like Dr. Mundo. So it's possible that he could be any of these characters, although if what we saw at the end actually confirms that he's dead, then he's dead.
Mm.
Um, so maybe not.
Mm.
Um, and then also we didn't see him very much. People were speculating that maybe Silco, the guy with like the
Mm-hmm.
fucked up eye, he could be singed. But now
So
people are saying it might be his assistant who got caught up in the fire,
I'm
which would
I'm
make
literally
sense.
on the Arcane wiki or the League of Legends wiki, but the Arcane page, and yes, Singe is apparently already confirmed to be the assistant.
Ah, right. Yeah.
Um,
So
who I don't think is actually named in the show, but there's a cast member called someone playing Singed. So
yeah, I think also I did look it up, and I like obviously I just did like a very quick Google search, and I did find a picture of apparently in the subtitles of the show when the assistant speaks, it comes up with the name Singed.
okay,
So
yeah.
yeah, I mean obviously I didn't check the source of that or anything. I didn't check it myself, so that could be completely edited or whatever, but it makes sense, really.
One of the interesting things I'm noticing looking at the cast on the wiki, so Wikipedia has a shorter cast list, which I would say is in order of how like prominent the characters are so far. But
Mm.
interestingly, on the wiki, it's giving kind of Caitlyn and Jace are like the top of the cast list, followed by Jinx, which is interesting because they have been much smaller players so far. But
So far,
that's kind of what I'm saying is that maybe it implies that it's going to become much bigger. Um,
I think that makes sense because obviously in even the opening credits and everything, it shows the grown-up characters, so it shows Jinx as Jinx rather than Powder.
Mm.
And I'm pretty sure it's been confirmed that it is going to go into, like, as they grow up and everything.
Yeah.
So potentially, because Jinx in the lore is just this random ass criminal who goes around causing havoc for no reason, and Vi um is a warden for the city. Um, so it will probably go into exploring that, and if Jinx is a criminal, and it shows her sort of criminal lifestyle, maybe they won't show so much of her because she's just going to kind of show up, cause havoc, and then you know fade into the background, and it will be more focused on the other characters sort of dealing with
Maybe.
that.
But I think, and this is arguably spoiler territory for the entire show, but it's in the opening credits. The final shot of the opening credits is Vi and Jinx attacking each other. And then it like flashes into the title card, which is kind of a spoiler. Like, come on, don't put that in the opening credits, because
Well,
like
yeah.
if you know who Powder's going to become, then you kind of know where the story's going for the first 3 episodes. But I guess that's going to be like the second and third act onwards, so whatever. But yeah, so that makes me think that the main plot is going to be the relationship between those two, which is what it's been thus far, anyways. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, trying to think what.
I think one thing that I did want to say bad about the show so far, and it's not even necessarily bad. I still don't know how I feel about it, but it's at the end when Powder hugs Silco and just decides to, I guess, just go with them.
Mm,
It felt a little bit rushed to me.
Same thing with when she's having her like breakdown towards the end of the
Yeah.
episode. But I'm wondering whether, because my brief understanding of Jinx is that she's insane as well. I'm wondering whether maybe it's implying that she's not as stable as the other characters as well, and like maybe her like mental state is deteriorating towards the end of that episode, which would explain it a little bit more.
Like, I completely agree, and I can guarantee that that is what they're going for.
But it still felt a bit
However,
rushed.
yeah, exactly. Like 3 episodes in, and she's already had one mental breakdown with no other like real signs of her leading up to that point. Like,
Hmm.
she was just a little bit upset. Like
Yeah,
when she was left there alone, she looked a little bit upset. And the
and then
next time
next
we
scene,
see her,
yeah,
she's in full mental breakdown mode. And I'm like,
yeah,
did I miss something?
yeah,
Um,
that was the exact same.
yeah, and I feel like at the end, as I said, when she just sort of like hugs Silco, I'm like, bro, these people have been your family like since you've been really young. You've just killed them, and like your like basically a adoptive father is dead on the floor next to you. And you saw this guy was the leader of them because she saw them through the window or like the open crack of the wall.
Yeah, I guess the thing is we didn't see exactly what her perspective was, so maybe she didn't see him and just saw the big guy and the goons that attacked Vi, but still she saw the goons that attacked Vi who were all still there at the end. So
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what I was debating in my own head. But even still,
yeah.
like it's just yeah, it just felt a bit rushed, and it was kind of a shame because that ending scene was so fucking tragic and just like it was so well done
Mm-hmm.
that it like I was thinking about it for quite a while afterwards, and I was just thinking, oh man, that was so good, but
Yeah,
and
but
then that
I don't think that really detracts too much from my enjoyment. Like I completely agree with you, but it's not to the point that I'd go. Therefore, that episode was badly put together. It's like
no,
okay,
no,
there's
I
room
don't
for
mean that at
improvement.
all.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
I
the other criticism I have, though, changing the topic slightly, is I do think some of the music's a bit Some of it's really good, but a lot of the like vocal music seems like it sometimes like really quickly wraps up, and it's almost like they commissioned full songs and then went, oh shit, we only need like 60 seconds of this song. Let's just like end it. And the one that's really noticeable for me is the fucking theme song by Imagine Dragons. Is just like it just begins and then it goes for a bit and then just ends and doesn't. And I know they released a full song, and I'm like, did you guys not like meet the brief that Riot gave you? Like it just like oh we're at the end of the opening credits and the end of the song. Like, and it's just like okay, fine. So
Yeah, it seems to me because I've watched the trailer, which is also the music video of the song. It just seems like it was made for the trailer, and then
yeah.
afterwards they were like, ah, fuck it, we'll just make it the opening credits theme.
Has
Um,
has Imagine Dragons done music for League of Legends before? Because I know lots of bands have, but I don't know if Imagine Dragons has done one before.
um, I'm not too sure actually.
Nine Inch Nails has apparently done one. Um, I'm not seeing any mention of it on their Wikipedia page, but I could, if I googled it, it would probably tell me more. But yeah, overall, really fucking good though.
Yeah. Should we get Tom back in?
Yeah, Tommy, are you looking at us?
Spoilers done.
Nice.
Okay, apparently they did Warriors, which was a couple of years back, 2014. So they have done a song
Ah,
before. Just whether Imagine Dragons had done a League of Legends song before, that was the final bit I was just looking up. Um, cool. Which actually, thinking about 2014 might have been the first one. Because that's like, League of Legends is old, but it's not that old.
uh, I'm not
All
sure
of
when
that
this
is
started
fucking
up, actually.
transmitting. So much headphone noise from you.
Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know exactly when League of Legends came out, but that sounds like early days for League of Legends.
Mm. I'm out of focus. How do I
Put
cure
put
this?
put put your hand up to the camera,
We need a technical difficulties sign.
and then take your hand away, and it should refocus onto your face.
Hooray!
Yeah, working from home for over a year, I know all too well how to deal with that sort of shit. Okay, the game came out in 2009,
Mm.
so that's 12 years. Fucking hell. Okay. But its first venture into music was in 2014 with Pentakill. Um, so yeah, Imagine Dragons have basically been partnered with them since the beginning of their music, I guess. Um, right, Eternals.
Yes. I thought it
Tommy,
was pretty good.
cool. That was Tommy and I's impression as well.
Yeah, I mean, as we said in our incredibly well made and uh, I would say perfect new series, Roll for Insight, like and subscribe, watch Roll for Insight. Um, it definitely didn't deserve the title of the worst MCU film. That's ridiculous. I understand it's a different vibe. Um, there's a few things in there, like as I said in the again, roll for insight, like and subscribe. I mean, the sex scene is probably a big one for me. That was weird, but it's nice they're doing something different. Otherwise, over decades of this doing the same kind of thing over and over again, it's just it's gonna get too samey. And it's based on comics, and comics have always been for people of all ages and backgrounds. So why not do it with the movies?
Also, I did see a point made on the internet since seeing it, which is that Iron Man 1, the first Iron Man film, in like the third scene, does have a very brief sex scene.
Very brief one, yeah, that's true.
And nowhere near as sensual as the one in Eternals, but it is,
Mm.
a woman throwing herself on Tony on the bed and then making out vigorously, and then him rolling with her, and then them falling off the bed, and then it cutting to her waking up naked in his bed.
Mm.
So, like, it's not exactly a new thing to the MCU. It's not something regularly done, and as I said, this one is far more sensual, but it's not like it's never been
It's been
touched upon.
suggested
Yeah.
before, and that was a heavy suggestion in Iron Man 1. But yeah,
And also,
actual.
Hawkeye has kids. And as we all know, storks actually don't deliver babies. So therefore,
They could be. They could be like I've forgotten the term for
Hawkeye
it, but
fucks.
they could be surrogate or something like that.
Then
You never
someone
know.
else in the Marvel Universe fucked. Also, while we're at it, this is years ago, but this is a funny meme. Just pointing out that the existence of the plot of The Rise of Skywalker confirms that Sheev Palpatine fucks. You're welcome, world.
Nice.
Well, I mean, weren't they clones?
I think they were.
Even if
Yeah.
they were clones, one of
The
them
clones
did,
fucked.
and one of them was the clone of Sheev Palpatine. Therefore, Sheev Palpatine fucks. Anyways, yeah, no, I thought it was really enjoyable. It's definitely not the best. It's definitely not the worst. It's like solidly middle tier for me.
I think, yeah, I mean, as I said in our group chat, just as a sort of precursor to the podcast, it had its weaknesses, but it also had its strengths. I think some of the weaknesses were some of the acting was kind of bad. Um, there's one person in particular.
Who?
It's not really a spoiler, I guess. Salma Hayek. I think her acting was pretty bad.
Fair enough.
Um, like it wasn't like it really didn't detract away from the film uh that much. But every time she was on screen, I was like, I'm not sure if I buy this person as a someone who's gone and you know I can't say anything without getting into spoilers, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that I seem to be seeing as a trend for the people really criticizing it, which I really don't fucking get, is people going, aren't we tired of the Marvel Cinematic Universe? If that's the case, put in the first, like the subtitle to your article, fine, put your headline as Eternals is the worst movie in the MCU, and then put in your subtitle, I am bored of the MCU, because
Mm.
fine, you're entitled to your opinion, that is a relevant opinion, but lots of people aren't tired of the MCU yet,
Yeah.
and I'm interested to hear what they think about the film, but for some reason, 90% of the film critics who reviewed this film, or actually not 90%, about 50% last time I checked, but still, are people who are bored of the MCU. Fine, that movie's not made for you. Like, it's
Yeah.
not that it's not a valid criticism, it absolutely is, but ultimately, if the Marvel Cinematic Universe only continues to go forward trying to entertain Marvel Cinematic Universe fans, guess what? It's still going to be a massive blockbuster franchise because there's loads of them. And, okay, they've never been high art. They don't need to be high art. They don't. Yeah, I don't get it. I really don't get the whole, because this is the 25th or the 26th film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and it's not different enough. I'm bored of it. And at the same time, it is different. It's one of the more different Marvel Cinematic Universe films out there. So, and the people who are criticizing it for being a Marvel Cinematic Universe film aren't praising it for being different to other Marvel Cinematic Universe films. And I've heard people say, "Oh, it's just another superhero origin story." What? Like, I'm sorry, point to a superhero origin story that functions like Eternals, because I can't think of one.
No, and I completely agree. I do not understand the notion of, oh, another MCU film, because the majority of them are different enough from each other and from probably most other films that you would see to still be fresh. And sure, there are a couple that kind of reuse the same formula, and especially with like with the villains and their intentions and motivations. Sure, okay, they repeat some of the same formulas, but the rest of the movie or movies are sufficiently different. And this was one major gripe I had with when they first announced their like new wave of movies and TV shows. I saw so many people saying like, I'm not going to watch anything after Endgame because the MCU's done now. They've done their story arc. Nothing's going to be good anymore. You know, oh, they can't make anything different, blah, blah, blah. But then the same people are also watching those shows saying, oh, it's too different. Like, oh, it's not like the other MCU movies are. They're doing way, like, just stupid things like What If, or Loki going completely overboard. I'm like, you just can't win with these people. Like, you see, I'm excited about the new projects because they are different.
Mm.
Like, okay, yeah, maybe even I got a little bit bored of the older MCU films because, yeah, as I said, they do reuse some of the formulas. Like, we get round to their very, sort of like end a lot of the different films, like Captain Marvel, for example. It's Captain America in space.
What
Like,
was
that's what I thought.
what was the one you mentioned during Roll for Insight, Tommy, that you thought was an example of a bad Marvel Cinematic Universe film?
Uh, I mean, I probably would have said like Thor 2 or
No,
something.
you didn't. You said one that was a bit loaded for Alex.
Or give me a clue.
One that Alex would disagree with you strongly on, which is why I'm bringing it up.
It's not fucking Thor Ragnarok, is it?
No, no.
Oh, God, I love that one.
It's nothing. It's nothing as blasphemic as that. But
Oh, Ant-Man 2?
mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, I hate that film. That one's
Yeah,
boring.
I completely disagree, as Pete said.
Yeah,
I
which
think
I'm afraid I agree with Tommy, but
I I I cannot disagree more. I think Ghost especially made that film really good. I think Ghost is one of the best MCU villains because it is different. Like most, like a lot of the complaints I see about the MCU are about the villains just being villains because they want power. And that's where Ghost differs. She's doing it because she's literally dying. She was in a tragic accident and she's been slowly dying her whole life. And it's painful for her. And nobody's seemed to help her.
just want to point
Okay.
out we're all slowly dying, and it's painful for most of us because life is pain.
Okay, but her probably quicker than others. And like her whole like cellular structure is basically failing her. And she's tried a bunch of different stuff. Nobody seems to help her.
Lawrence Fishburne
Goliath,
helped her.
I was just going to say Goliath, is the only person that's tried and so far hasn't come up with anything, and she's panicking. Like she is like her life is just fading away before our very eyes. She's never had a chance to actually live because she was used by the government, and she just wants out. She just wants out. And I think that's such a great character motivation because I felt sympathy for her. I wanted her to succeed, even though she's going about it, the wrong way. And
Okay,
sure, she probably could have just asked, like, yo, do you guys know any way you could help me? But at that point, she was panicked. She wasn't thinking clearly.
okay. Jill Valentine gave a decent performance in that film. Don't know the actual actress's name, but she's playing Jill Valentine in the new Resident Evil movie. And the ghost costume is really fucking cool. The powers were really like represented cool. And you're right, there's a really cool backstory there that's on paper. None of that came across in the actual film for me. Like
Yeah.
you saying all that, I'm like, cool, yeah, I can see how that's probably in the script. None of that came across in the film to me, and maybe it's because the film's more focused on the more goofy hijinks that Ant-Man 1 did, but all of those goofy hijinks just felt like Ant-Man 1 again. So that's kind of why I was just like, yeah, for the whole film. It's not a bad film. I wouldn't rate it as the worst Marvel Cinematic Universe film either, but it's probably like bottom 5 for me. And Eternals probably isn't quite bottom 5 for me.
I mean, I guess it just comes down to what each person sees. I mean, everything is subjective.
Oh, of
I
course,
mean,
yeah.
as you said, I saw all that on the screen, whereas you didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So of course I'm gonna have, that opinion because to me that was something that was important and I saw it.
Yeah, and and a lot of people, not just critics who are bored of the MCU, but there are people who are saying that Eternals just felt boring to them. It wasn't boring to me. So again, it's that point of being subjective. To me, yeah, it's a slower paced Marvel film, and there's a lot going on in it. But I felt captured the entire time. I'm very glad I didn't have to pee during the whole film, because it's one of those films that I would like, you know, do not want to go during. But yeah, no, for me it was thoroughly entertaining the whole time. So yeah, it is different strokes for different folks at the end of the day. But yeah, I don't know. I think the thing that, and again, the Marvel Cinematic Universe is not the be all and end all of media. There are people who seem to just love Marvel films and don't kind of go out to see other films, and that sucks. I really hope that people out there aren't just consuming one type of media, but at the same time, give credit to Marvel where it's due. No one had ever done anything like the Marvel Cinematic Universe before. No one had. And Avengers 1 was an experiment, and it worked. Age of Ultron, not so much, but, whatever. Then Infinity War and Endgame, again, taking the thought experiment of Avengers 1 and taking it to a, ridiculous level. On paper, most people probably would have said, before Marvel started doing its thing, if you said, let's do a film with, 20 odd superheroes in it, that's not going to work. No way that can work. Oh, a story that's taking place in space and also in a different part of space and also in a different part of space and on Earth and in a different part of Earth. Yeah, that's not going to work in one movie. I'm talking about Infinity War here, but whatever, which is the better film of the two. People would have said that wouldn't work. So those same people who are now saying, oh, well, I don't care about the Marvel Cinematic Universe because there's nowhere for them to take the story, let them take the story. They've proven that they can do stuff that other studios didn't think was possible and still haven't managed to achieve, looking at you, DC. So, let them tell the story they're wanting to tell. Because so far, to me, I was saying this to Tommy I'm not trying to get you all to watch Roll for Insight. You can watch this. This is fine. Please do watch that as well. But I'm not trying to just promote that show. But I was saying to Tommy in it, we were talking about different corners of the Marvel universe and how it feels like multiple stories are now moving forward. So you've got the one to do with Kang the Conqueror and all of the multiverse, which obviously Spider-Man's going to tie into, Doctor Strange is going to tie into, presumably whatever's the future for Wanda is going to tie into, Loki tied in, well, I already said Loki because Kang, and then obviously he's going to appear in Ant-Man 3. So that's, speaking of which, actually we didn't bring this up in either of the two past podcasts. Have you seen the Ant-Man 3 new logo?
No.
Oh my god, Tommy, can you find the Ant-Man 3 logo and show it to him? I showed this to Tommy and he could not believe himself, and we found it before the first podcast, and I keep on forgetting to bring it up. But yeah, so that's a whole story element. But then, to me, the Celestial stuff that Eternals sets up doesn't feel like it's going to be part of that. But at the same time, obviously Shang-Chi's post-credit scene probably ties into the Celestials with Eternals as well, and the Celestials.
He's just seen it.
What is that?
Just check. You've seen the original one as well, right?
No.
It's just the word Quantumania in a blue font, and it's quite nice looking. It's not boring, but you can read it. But that's Ant-Man and the Wasp.
It looks like they're trying to spell out Ouroboros, but
it does.
They just can't quite achieve it.
And obviously, that it's supposed to look like Kang vibes, right, from his realm in Loki. That's the vibe I'm getting from it, but it's just bad. Please go back to the old one, or design a new one that I can actually read. But yeah, so that's at least two major stories moving forward in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and then there's room for a bunch of smaller stories because obviously, frankly, Falcon and Winter Soldier doesn't really tie majorly into either of those two stories, but they've got their own story moving forward. So I'm cool with it. I'm cool with these smaller stories, and also if you're gonna go towards a big Avengers event with Kang, or if you're gonna bring in Galactus or something, maybe I'm cool for that too. There is territory to mine in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It doesn't have to be an event as big as Infinity War or Endgame, but also you absolutely could. And I usually quite like the reviews of Mark Kermode, and I watched his review of Eternals today, and he said something to the effect of, you deleted half of the universe and then brought them back, so why should I care anymore? Well, okay, then don't watch the films. I care, because it's still fun.
Well, but I mean, the whole point of that was that it caused a lot of chaos and destruction in the world.
Mm.
You know, like it again. I guess we're getting into spoiler territory for like Falcon and Winter Soldier here, so
That's
I
pretty
guess
old
we
at this
can.
point.
Yeah, but you know, the whole thing of that show is, uh, you know, people basically like the Flag Smashers. The whole thing is they hate the fact that they had to give up their homes and stuff because people returned.
Hmm.
You know, it caused chaos and it caused a lot of dissension amongst, you know, just ordinary civilians.
Hmm.
That is a big plot point.
Yeah,
Something that big happening to the world,
and
it
it
is going
felt
to have some effects.
really natural. Like, because on the same side of the coin, the exact same event happening is also basically the inciting incident for the Eternals to take place.
Mm.
But like that feels ridiculous and god level, and the Falcon and Winter Soldier thing feels very human and grounded, and it works brilliantly because you have this crazy, godlike celestial level of storytelling, but you also have the level of storytelling that Captain America would have handled, and they both fit perfectly within the same universe. And again, that's an impressive fucking feat. So, what the fuck was that noise? Did you knock something over? I don't believe you. It sounded like something just fell over downstairs in your area. No? He's lying to me.
Okay, so should we get into Eternal spoilers now?
Sure. Spoilers for the Eternals. Time code or chapters or whatever.
Woo woo.
So something that I've really wanted to talk about uh since I first came back and said I'd seen it, the part that I thought was just hilariously bad that made me like piss myself in the cinema.
I'm really hoping you say the same thing as me.
Icarus just flying into the sun.
Yep.
Like that was like I was rolling in the cinema. I turned around. I went to see it with my friend Ben. If you're watching this, Ben, shout out to you. But I turned around and looked at him, and we both just laughed because it was just so fucking ridiculous. Like he's just like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." Commit suicide by flying into the sun. Like what the
I was saying
fuck?
to Tommy, I really hope it becomes a meme moving forward. When you're sad, so you just fly yourself into the sun.
Yeah.
Like, I get what they were going for, but
I
yeah.
get it, but
And
it's not very subtle.
the point I
No.
made to Tommy as well is, fuck, I'm forgetting her name now. Sprite. We were told earlier that Sprite created the story of Icarus flying into the sun.
Mm.
So, kind of Loki implies that, like, at the end, he just felt inspired by this just complete bullshit that Sprite made up and just went, yeah, that sounds like the way I'm going to do it. But I don't think he's dead. I don't think he's dead. I think he's, he's an android, essentially. Spoilers, obviously. Well, we're in spoiler talk.
Yeah.
So I don't think he's dead. I think there's room for him to come back. And what I said to Tommy is that obviously with this story of Icarus flying too close to the sun, losing his wings, and then dying, but it might be that he's like so injured that he can barely help. But I would be down for him if Dane Whitman's going to show up as Black Knight in Blade. I think it'd be quite cool to have Icarus there, but like a super depowered and injured Icarus being forced to help Dane maybe get Cersei back.
Now, I think that is a possibility. However, Arasham is still out there, and he's taken, Cersei and I think Sprite and Kingo.
He didn't take Sprite. So yeah, I looked this up. He took Kingo and what was the engineer's name?
Oh,
Fastios.
Festus.
Festus. Yeah,
Fastios.
so Fastius. That's it. So Sprite wasn't.
Wait, I thought it was Festus because I thought he was the inspiration for Hephaestus.
That does sound legit.
I heard
but
Fastios, but
let's look it up. There's like
Let's
10
do it.
characters in this film, so forgive us if we've forgotten some of their names. Particularly because they're all like close to mythology, but not quite. He's Fastos.
Fastos.
So both of you were wrong, but Alex was closer.
I put an E in there.
But yeah,
Right, yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, because he's taken them and everything, and he still exists. we've seen his workshop. Technically, any of the Eternals that we've seen could come back because he's still got models of them.
Yeah, this is true.
They just won't come back with any of their memories.
Hmm. But yeah, no. So he only took the three on Earth though, so Icarus wasn't taken, and there's no. The implication I got from the film is that he's aware of what's going on Earth, but like for him to actually intervene, he has to show up. Because why else would he have made himself visible to the entire planet, fucking Earth, to claim Cersei? Um, like
Oh yeah.
so. Yeah, I feel like if Icarus did end up back on Earth, it doesn't necessarily mean that he would get involved, but maybe.
What I could see happening is, um, like for some reason, Cersei and the others kind of get out of there, and Arisham sends like another Icarus, basically with like the full plan again.
Hmm.
But then they manage to this time, like convince him of what happened before, and then he, like this version of him, comes around.
Hmm.
Um, I could maybe see that happening
Yeah, but
if they wanted to keep him on.
I personally hope it would be the same Icarus with the same memories, just because that's more interesting to me than a reset. But yeah, um, I thought the Icarus plot twist was really really cool. I don't know
Yeah.
a huge amount about the Eternals, but my understanding is that Icarus has not ever been portrayed as a villain. So that was really cool. I also said to Tommy, I think his flying is, admittedly, the way Superman flies is different to the way Icarus flies. But man, Icarus's flying is just so much more cool than Superman's.
I yeah, I think the Icarus plot twist sold the movie for me,
Mm.
because up until that point I was just kind of thinking, well, the deviant are the deviants just going to be the main enemy? Because I feel like there's not really much of a plot there. Like they haven't built it up enough for it to be like, oh well, they, this makes them the main villain. And I think it was just a bit shit if Ajax was just going to be the one that, you know was going along with Arishem and whatever. Because I was like, well, who are they going to be fighting in the end? They're not going to fight Celestial. There's no way they're going to do that in this movie.
Well, they kind of
And
did though.
they kind of did, but
Cersei put her hands on the hand of the Celestial, and then the Celestial died. That's fighting, right?
yeah, okay, but it was literally being birthed, you know? Like they weren't fighting a full powered, like, you know, probably millions of year old celestial. Um and I just, they're not gonna do that. So like there's gotta be something that's gonna go on that will make me actually think, oh well, this is all worth it. And I think the Icarus plot twist did that for me, because it made me just be like, oh, okay, at least they have like an actual person to go against now, in order to try and save the world. So yeah, I think that was that saved the film in my eyes.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. I think I said when the trailer first came out, I was like, as much as I'm like tentatively looking forward to this film because I didn't know much about the Eternals, I did say that the Deviants look very kind of generic MCU villain, which is one of the things
Mm.
that the MCU does suffer from. Is a lot of their villains kind of look boring and are a bit boring personality wise as well. And I do think that all of the Deviants were kind of that, but they're not the main villain, so that's cool.
Yeah,
Um,
I did leave the cinema thinking, okay, so I understand that the deviants were there, so there could be the plot twist of, oh, well, I made them before you, and then they went rogue, and so I had to make you to stop them. Like, I get that's the whole thing, but did they have to have that one deviant evolve to the point of being able to get all their powers and stuff? Like, I feel like at that point, I was like, don't really understand why they put that in there. They could have just had him be like, just a slightly more powerful deviant, and it wouldn't have really changed much.
I wonder if it's literally just for the trailer moment where he's like grabbing Fina and saying you can't protect any of them, and it looks like Fina might be betraying the other Eternals.
I did think that.
I said to Tommy as well, one of the things I do find weird with the trailer is as soon as they found Ajax's body, I went, hmm. In the trailer, you see Icarus talking to Ajax and her saying that the Deviants are back and that the whatever it was called, the thing that's going to end the world is coming, and that they've got 7 days. Emergence.
Hmm.
And that's not happened in the film yet, which means that we're presumably going to get a flashback to when Icarus has visited Ajax, and that's going to take place just before he shows up in the film. That's a bit suspicious. And I didn't think it would be him betraying the Eternals, but I thought it might be that he was like working on something in secret with Ajax. But so the plot just still worked, but like I was like, that's a bit dangerous to put in the trailer because like,
yeah,
you know, it's really obvious that didn't take place yet. But yeah, I mean that's a minor gripe, I guess. Makari's super speed was fucking awesome.
yeah, it was really good.
Yeah, best super speed in any film, I think, in my personal opinion. Yeah, overall, really good film.
Dane Whitman. I am super excited to see him turn into the Black Knight.
I agree. I was hoping for it the whole movie.
Yep, me too.
I was disappointed there wasn't more of him because I loved him. He was adorable, would be the best way to put it.
Yeah, God, I was so disappointed that we didn't get to see him at least just pick up the blade.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, that's something to look forward to at least.
Did you hear who the voice was?
I didn't. I literally stood up at the end and I turned around to Ben and I said, I feel like I should recognize the voice, but I don't.
Would you like
hold
to
on?
know?
No, before you do that, do you want to know what one of the people in the cinema said it was? The person sat next to me.
What they say, Thanos?
No, more stupid than that, I would say. And this wasn't a joke. This was a genuine. This person thought that's what that voice was.
I don't know.
They turned to their friend and went, "Oh my god, that was Captain America."
Would you like to know who it really was?
Yes.
You're gonna like this. It's confirmed that the voice was of actor Mahershala Ali / Blade.
Oh,
that's the reaction I was expecting from you.
That fucking yeah, god damn.
So
now I'm even more excited.
Presumably he's going to show up in Blade. I did say to Tommy, I really hope that it is a Blade movie with Black Knight tagging along, not a Black Knight and Blade movie, because my boy Blade deserves his own movie.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, it's going to be really cool to see him in that. Also, I just looked up because ages ago we were talking about Black Knight, and I was like, I'm pretty sure Black Knight wields Excalibur. And then I looked it up and went, no, he wields something called the Ebony Blade. Don't know why I thought it was Excalibur. Then the movie says that he wields Excalibur. Or it like says, oh, look, this is Excalibur. And I went, fucking told you. But then he has a sword at the end. It isn't the sword that was on the ship. And I was very confused. So I've just looked it up. He has wielded Excalibur, but it's not his main sword. The Ebony Blade is his main sword. He is known for wielding Excalibur, but the Ebony Blade is his main sword. And so presumably it was Excalibur on the ship, and the Ebony Blade is the one he had in his possession, which is the one that's cursed.
So, I mean, his ancestor could have used it, because obviously Dane Whitman as a Black Knight is the third.
Mm-hmm. His uncle was the one before him, right?
Yep, and then the first one was like Sir Percy something, like back in the times of King Arthur, so he probably might have used it then.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think very much Excalibur was set up in that movie, but might just be like a tease. But yeah, so it was the Ebony Blade at the end. So cool.
Also, Eros.
Yes.
I'm not really sure where he's gonna fit in.
I could I could see him. I, I don't know where he's going to fit in with Celestials, which is obviously like he's with the Eternals right now and presumably going to get involved in that plot. I could totally see him being a thing with Guardians of the Galaxy down the line, but I don't think he would be in Volume 3 because that's not enough time. But
Mm.
he seems like the sort of character who'd fit in a bit more with them
I
than
agree.
the Eternals. But I'm totally fine with Harry Styles being cast as him. I said to Tommy at the time, I think, Harry Styles gets a bad rep for being in One Direction, which is just. But as an actor, I've seen him in Dunkirk, and he was good in that, and that's the only film I've seen him in. So I have no reason to
Quite,
assume he's going to be bad as
yeah, I'm
Eros.
quite
Yeah,
looking forward to it, to be honest. Feeling pretty positive.
Also, I'm pretty
yeah.
sure, I can't remember the actor's name, but the guy who plays Druig, I'm pretty sure was the main character in Dunkirk alongside Harry Styles' character. So,
Druid was pretty neat. I
oh,
like
I love
Druid.
Druig.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the thing is like, I think what sucks about Eternals, and Tommy, I think you said that you wanted to see a movie about just a handful of them.
Yeah,
I think that's kind of how I came away with it. It's like, and this isn't necessarily a bad thing, but all of those characters were so interesting that I'd love to see more stories with them. But I don't necessarily want all like 9 or 10 of them because there's a lot. But like, I would love a film about like just Druig and Makari, for instance. Like their relationship was so cool. I want to see more of that. And like, maybe it's romantic or maybe it's just platonic, but it's a really cute relationship. And sure, Athena can tag along on the ship, but like if the next Eternals movie was literally just the three of them for the majority of it, I'd be totally fine with it. At the
yeah.
same time, if the next Eternals movie was just uh, I've forgotten who it was again, Cersei, Kingo, and Fastos.
Hmm.
Yeah, if it's just those three, then cool. But yeah.
Um, something that just reminded me actually was about seeing each of them overall. Something I was very disappointed in, but I also kind of liked it. It left me really torn. Was what they did with Kingo at the
Mm.
end
Yeah, we said this.
because yeah, I they built him up to be such a cool character. Like I loved him. Like throughout the whole movie, he was set up to be one of the main characters, I feel.
Mm.
And then at the very end they were just like, now let's just not have him in it. And I was like, well, like what was the point in building him up more than the other characters that actually did participate in the final battle? But
Mm.
on the flip side of things, I'm like, well, we've never really seen that done with a character before. And
Yeah.
I think it's very character building that he did just say, like, especially because, the whole point of the movie is that they are just like basically android creations who are built to purpose. And he says the line, you followed your heart, we all did. And I
Mm.
think that is like a very good character building moment.
Mm.
Um,
Well, I think
but
that
still,
that's the
yeah,
theme of the movie, isn't it? Is that it's as much as Icarus is the antagonist of the movie, and I think I referred to him as the villain earlier. I wouldn't class him as a villain, although what he did to Ajax was kind of fucked. But I wouldn't class him as a villain. I'd class him as the antagonist because they're all doing what they believe to be right, and they're all following their heart. And yeah, so it does kind of suck that we didn't get to see him in the finale, but at the same time, as you said, it's really it fits with the theme and it's really interesting. I just hope that if he is in the next movie, that we get to see him do some more cool shit during the finale because yeah, he was cool. He was a really cool
yeah.
character and his powers were cool, but yeah,
I
um,
think it wouldn't have bothered me as much if they hadn't built him up more than the other characters.
yeah. I
And
would I'd say kind of like the main four characters built up are Icarus, Cersei, him, Kingo, and Athena.
and Sprite.
Yeah, I suppose Sprite. Yeah, but then you've got
Um,
half of them are like major
well,
focus.
yeah, but yeah, and I also just thought it was really weird because he was the only one that had a human companion
Mm.
and had like probably as big of an investment in the human race as Cersei, like through all of his filmmaking and stuff, and like he seemed to enjoy the fame and everything. Um, and the stories that Sprite would tell, he'd like being part of one of them, I guess. And it felt super strange to me that he would give all that up in a heartbeat for Icarus, even with his human companion who was campaigning for him to basically side with Cersei. And I just thought that was a very strange choice.
But I don't think it's necessarily him siding with Icarus. As much as he did say he would always follow Icarus, I don't think his decision at the end was just because, oh, well, Icarus disagrees with what you guys are trying to do, so I disagree with it. I think it was just genuinely that's what he thought was right as well. Because he doesn't kind of make the argument, hey guys, Icarus was, he's our most superior person, we should be following him or anything like that. He just goes, yeah, if we do this though, potentially millions of billions of other lives will not be born or will die. And so like his reasoning feels much more personal than it is just where Icarus goes, I follow.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah. Yeah, it was very weird, but yeah, as I said, I did kind of like that it was something that we haven't ever really seen a character do before, just basically being passive.
Mm.
Um,
Damn, there goes my theory.
What's that?
So I was just looking it up. That one of the abilities of the Ebony Blade is to be able to like break through magic. And I was like, do you know, it'd be pretty fucking cool if Black Knight ends up playing a major part in Multiverse of Madness, potentially fighting off either Wanda or Doctor Strange if one of them goes evil. But Blade's supposedly coming out after Multiverse of Madness, and I somehow don't think they're going to squeeze both of those in before the Blade movie. So
Yeah.
So there goes my theory.
It's the perfect way because it doesn't only break through magic, but it also gives them a barrier against it as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty OP in that sense.
Do you know what I'm looking forward to? When it eventually comes out, we'll be getting Black Knight in Marvel Strike Force. We're not sponsored, but we would like to be.
I agree with that.
But, that could be a good update if he is in Blade. We get Blade and Black Knight,
Mm-hmm.
and then
yeah, I think
maybe even Morbius.
Would you put Black Knight as a supernatural character?
somewhat, but I can do without Morbius, unless you mean Morbius as in jet ski Morbius. I'm down with him being in Blade.
That's Mobius.
Whatever. But I'll let Jared Leto not be in the MCU, please.
I don't know, man. I watched the second trailer and I'm absolutely fucking 100% sold. I think he looks so good.
I'm about 0% sold. Negative something if you can be negative sold on something.
I don't even like horror things, so that's really weird for me to actually be interested in seeing something like that.
We'll agree to disagree.
That's what I was gonna say. I really want the Black Knight to join the Avengers and lead them.
That would be quite the jump.
Fuck it. Like I just like the part of the reason I'm really excited for the Black Knight or to have I really hope he does get a bigger part because although there are a lot of the superheroes that are played by English actors, they're all still American. Give us one, British lead. That's what I want.
Just to point out, technically, Cersei and Icarus kind of are British as well because they both just use their normal voices, but they're not British because they're androids from outer space. But
also the same with Vision, I suppose.
I
guess, but yeah.
And technically, Vision is actually British in the sense that Jarvis was British because Jarvis was based on Tony's butler, who is British.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
So technically, Vision's voice is British, but he's also not British because he has nothing to do with our culture. Yeah. Also, on the subject of Black Knight, I really hope that Black Knight. I don't think he becomes technically superpowered, right? His sword has magical abilities and he gets like bonuses and whatever, but he's not actually superpowered, I don't think.
he's not. He's well trained.
Yeah.
But he's not got superpowers.
I really fucking hope the first time we see Black Knight like actually doing some cool shit with his sword, there's a moment when he like has to parkour up something and he just goes, "Nope, I'm taking the stairs."
Yeah.
Just as a cool.
I actually did a little bit of research before the podcast into the Black Knight because I wanted to be a bit more knowledgeable, and apparently, he has been and hasn't been.
Okay.
Is that
so
all versions of Black Knight, or
just Dane Whitman?
Yeah.
Okay. So apparently Dane, and we might not see this, at least for the first bit. I mean, they might just say fuck it and just give him superpowers anyway. But he did like this ritual with Cersei, which gave him basically like enhanced strength and speed and what have you. And also he has a connection with the ebony blade that bestows upon him immortality, and like his armor basically gets all shadowy and wispy and stuff, and apparently he can fly and stuff. So depending on the version that they do of him, he might have superpowers, his blade might give him all of this shit. But either way, he'll probably be pretty badass, I imagine.
But,
take that, Icarus.
But I still hope he decides to take the stairs at least once as Black Knight.
I want to see him because he's a master horseman, and also his horse is named Aragorn. Pretty cool. So I want to see him taking the horse up the stairs.
But just to round off our conversation about Eternals, really, Rotten Tomatoes, it's currently at 48% from official reviews, so it's dropped even worse. But it's 80% audience score still, which has dropped from 86%. So, yeah. That being said, all the praise we've given to it and saying it is a pretty decent movie. I did say this to Tommy at the time when we were watching it in the cinema. What fucking school has classes with like an actual classroom and a teacher in the Natural History Museum of London?
That's what I thought as well, actually.
So
I'm
therefore,
glad you mentioned that.
Fucking bullshit movie, 0 out of 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty weird.
Also, I've got a headcanon, just pointing this out here. When she says, yeah, I know Charlie, while walking past the statue of Charles Darwin, it's my headcanon that he and Cersei's totally fucked at one point.
I did think that as well, actually.
Yeah. Look, Charles Darwin fucked. It's a known fact, probably.
So something that No, I don't know either. But it's something I've actually thought about before when I've seen a film or a series or something where like characters are immortal and they say that they've, met all these different famous people and what have you. I always just think to myself, okay, you're immortal, but it doesn't make you like suddenly be able to get in with all of these like celebrities and everything. Like, what would make you think you could just...
But at the same time, if you are immortal, you probably have all of the time in the world to become super interesting, know a bunch of interesting facts, and also become super charismatic. Like, you can work on all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But Tommy, you said that you don't know if Charles Darwin, had any children. I didn't know either. Do you want to know how many children he had?
I'm gonna guess quite a lot.
10.
10 children.
So
different spouses, or
he apparently only had one spouse. I don't know whether all of his children were in wedlock, but
yeah, he fucked.
He most defo fucked. Cool. Last thing, I'm gonna try and make this a thing in the show, at least when we have stuff to say, stuff that we watched in the week or stuff media that we engaged with in the week that we'd recommend. Haunting of Hill House.
Big thumbs up. Big thumbs up.
Even you, who doesn't like that much horror, Alex.
I do not,
and I don't.
Alex, yeah.
There are some jump scares in it. There's no denying it, but most of it is slow burn, thematic horror. Like the tone of it is more scary, or not scary, but like unsettling. There are genuine scares, but there's nothing that's like outright just like shitty horror.
Mm.
And like narrative wise and how everything links together, it's one of my favorite Netflix shows that I've ever watched. It's just like skyrockets up there, so would
It
highly recommend.
deserves that praise.
What about you guys?
Hmm.
You've been playing a bit of a certain game, Tommy.
I've been playing a bit of Death Stranding, and I'm not gonna lie, it's growing on me. It was very exhausting to be like. It was extremely exhausting to begin with. It's basically a walking simulator, but
Did the
this
fact that you can now pause cutscenes that improve your
now
liking of
I
it?
found out I can pause cutscenes. It is a lot less exhausting, but it is just somehow addictive being a uh, sci-fi Amazon delivery man.
Well, considering
Which
how badly it
you
seems
know,
to go on the internet whenever I've seen clips from it, I'd say you're more FedEx than Amazon.
well, I don't even think FedEx would even try and do half the things that Delivery Man does in this one. Very strange product placements. Like, what's his name again? The protagonist, the
Norman
actor who plays him.
Reedus.
Yeah, it's very strange watching Norman Reedus have a shit and then seeing an advertisement for Norman Reedus's biking TV show pop up in front of him to hide things. Very on the nose, but okay game. I'll give it that. Somehow.
I mean, I'm not 100% sold. I mean, the first thing you said was, "Oh, it was exhausting to begin with."
It is. It is
I don't,
exhausting.
I, I don't think I could bring myself to play through it if even the beginning is exhausting.
It's
I'm
like
pretty sure
smoking.
I just turn it off.
Your
It's like
body is
smoking.
rejecting it the whole time, but you just can't stop.
I think I'll take a miss on that one.
I mean, I somewhat get what Tommy's saying because I would say The Last of Us Part 2 was emotionally draining, but I loved it. But I have no desire to play Death Stranding.
Mm.
You're lost, boys. You're lost. If you don't want to throw vials of shit at the undead, that's your loss.
I'm willing to take this out.
Yeah. What about you, Alex? Media that you would recommend?
I honestly haven't played or seen anything like new this week, other than what we've already talked about on, you know, on the podcast. I guess something that I have picked up again that I've been playing through with someone you will probably see in the D&D campaign that we're going to run on this channel. Samo. We've been playing Baldur's Gate 3. Um, it's still incredibly fucking buggy. I genuinely like I genuinely don't understand how it's probably like at least a year in early access now, and some of
At
these
least,
bugs
yeah.
haven't been resolved. When they're starting to introduce new content and classes and stuff like that, I have no idea how they've not addressed some of these bugs. It's still some of the same stuff that I experienced like the first day of release. Um,
Mm.
it's mental to me. I really don't get it. And it's so disappointing because I love Larian. Larian is up there in my top three of my favorite game studios because like Divinity Original Sin 2, maybe even my favorite game of all time. Like it is so good and it plays so smoothly. I mean, there are a couple of things, that get a little bit annoying. Like, if you click in the wrong place on the map, then your camera will spin around and, it will do like a weird sort of thing. But it's like that happens not very often. And the rest of the gameplay is just smooth as anything. And then I play Baldur's Gate 3, and fair enough, it's still in early access and they're still working on it. Come on, a year afterwards, and some of these like game breaking bugs are still in it. I don't understand.
Does
Um,
hurt to see, especially from companies like Larian, who people hold in high regard. It always
Mm.
stings more, but I'm not a game dev. I don't know what it's like.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
entirely possible, I suppose, that the people working on the bugs and the people working on the new content are completely different areas of the team. But
I mean, potentially, yeah. But even with these bugs, I'm enjoying it. I think like don't if you know if you happen to watch this and you've been contemplating playing the game, but you've heard of these bugs or something, don't let what I just said take away from that. You might experience some of these bugs. Yes, they are game breaking, but the overall experience has just been incredibly enjoyable.
yeah,
It's got some really good stuff in it. Some of the bugs also are just really funny. Like we
dude,
experienced a bug,
sorry,
I think it
dude,
was
your fucking microphone's on your fucking nipple. Sort it out.
It's not on my nipple.
It's
You're
rubbing
stroking it, so
against your
why then?
torso, and it's making so much noise in the recording.
um
Get it together. We're professional podcasters here. Sort your shit out. Get your house in
uh,
fucking order.
It's your house.
It's my flat. Alex, sorry.
yeah, some of the bugs are really hilarious. I think it was one yesterday we experienced where one of the NPCs that you can get is called Astarion. He's like a elf rogue,
And he's
and
definitely not a vampire.
definitely not. Why would you even, you don't even need to say that. He's
That's
just
not a spoiler.
so
It's
far
like
away
as
from
soon
a
as you meet
vampire.
him.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he's
Well,
also on the
actually,
loading screen as a vampire, isn't he?
yeah. Well, I think they've actually changed that
Oh, have they?
because we're quite far into our playthrough now, and we've only just discovered in character that he is. So yeah, they might have changed that.
Fair enough.
But yeah, he was on the floor in the first cutscene you have together, and he gets up, but instead of actually just clambering to his feet, he spins round and drifts up in a plank formation, and his legs are just wiggling as he gets up, and we both were just like, whoa, what the fuck is going on here?
Funnily enough, the best bug I've come across in Baldur's Gate 3 is also Astarion related, and it was I was playing it with a couple of my friends, and one of my friends, Angel, and maybe it's changed, but he was very obviously a vampire back when we played it, which was when it first came out. And she went, "I'm gonna fuck the vampire," so she seduced the vampire, and then failed a saving throw, which means that the vampire then bites her and sucks her blood. And the cutscene shows all of that happen, and then it cuts to us waking up the next morning and finding our friend's dead body. Except the game glitched out and killed off one of the other players, my friend Malik, instead. So it was just Malik's dead body in a pool of blood, and Angel was just fine. And it was like, what the fuck? So
Yeah,
yeah, that was pretty fucking great.
yeah, but yeah, there are some major bug issues, but if you can look past that and just I wouldn't recommend maybe playing the full game just yet, because they are still just working on Act One, which is said to be triple the size of the first act. Actually, I think they said that Baldur's Gate 3 is going to be triple the size of Divinity Original Sin 2 in
Okay.
its entirety. Um, so there is still a lot more content to go, even in Act 1, before they even get on to the other two acts. And I would recommend, if you really want to have hopefully a non-buggy experience where you can play the overall game, maybe just wait until the end. But if you just want something enjoyable to play and you don't really care about that, and you can overlook a few bugs, I would really recommend giving Baldur's Gate 3 a try. There's so much to do already, and I guarantee you'll find something that you find fun to do in it.
Yeah, I mean, off the back of that, I would say I played it when it first came out. Thankfully, we came across a lot of game breaking bugs in the first week, but after that, it was mostly okay. It is one of the most fun experiences I've ever had playing with friends in a video game. It's that good already. Obviously, the bugs aside. So I'm really excited for when it's finished, because I genuinely think it will be probably one of my favorite games of all time.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
at the same time, having played the content that was there when it had first come out, and I'm sure they've added more content since then, I don't really have any interest to go back and play it right now because I'll just play it when it's fully released. I mean, to be honest with you, if you said, "Hey Pete, do you want to play Baldur's Gate 3 tomorrow?" I'd probably say yes because I would enjoy it. But at the same time, if no one comes to me saying, "Do you want to play Baldur's Gate 3?" I'm probably just gonna go, "I'll wait till it's out fully." But what is there is really fucking enjoyable. Combat's great. The stupidity of D&D is fully in there. So yeah, it's a really really solid foundation. As much as things like bugs can be frustrating, but yeah.
Yeah, and I will say just on that note as well, specifically about the multiplayer aspect of it, um, it's come a long way since the day one release when I played it.
Oh, day one was unplayable.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, sort of the couple of
Yeah.
weeks following as well, that sort of time period. Tom and I tried it out, and we didn't get very far just because it literally just didn't work. Like, we'd
Yeah.
get to a certain point, and I think a common um bug that we encountered, because we started like maybe 3 or 4 playthroughs just because we wanted to see if we could get past the bug, and the most common one that we ran into, which was game breaking, as in like we just couldn't continue no matter how hard we tried, was a dialogue issue where one of us would get stuck in dialogue even though we weren't talking to anyone. So we'd have the dialogue bubble over our heads, but it meant we couldn't talk to anyone else.
We had that a handful of times. We also had the desyncing combat issue, which was really frustrating.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
I think we had corrupted saves once as well, didn't we?
Yeah, we've had that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we experienced all of that within like the first 3 weeks of the game coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good news is, well, bad news is the dialogue bug, and also the combat stuff, the combat desync, they're still in the game. The good news is, if you are creative enough, you can get around them. Like, a problem that me and Samo have been facing is one of us gets stuck in the dialogue, and so we have to give our character over to the other player so that they can continue the dialogue, and then you have to take it back afterwards. Or when a player joins the game, um, you are controlling their characters, and then you give it over to your character, their player, but then you also lose control of your character. And yeah, there are loads of bugs around it. But with just a bit of fiddling around with the, like session options and stuff, you can get through it. It's just a bit of, it's a bit frustrating when you have a long period or like a short amount of time of playing absolutely fine, and then you let your guard down, and then suddenly a bug comes up again, and you're like, oh, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
The trials and tribulations of trying to play Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
All right, we've been going for like nearly an hour and 3/4. It's a long one, so
Yep.
we'll probably call it here. You absolutely said it, Alex, that we had a lot to talk about this time, and I was like, we probably won't talk about Eternals too much because Tommy and I already have, and then we did a lot. So
Wait, one more thing just before we finish. Have you guys seen the poster for No Way Home?
no, well,
Yes.
yes, but no. A friend sent it to me, and I basically wanted to tell them to fuck off because I'm trying to avoid anything to do with No Way Home at the moment. So
Okay, then we will not talk about it.
no, it's fine. I'll do what Tommy did earlier, and I will deafen. You won't show me as deafened, but I'm going to deafen on my mixer.
Okay. So, the
I
poster.
thought it looked like, I mean, it's cool to actually see Goblin physically in the background of the poster,
Yeah.
but it looks so like tacked on there. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it does. It, like, I looked at the poster and I was like, that looks fucking terrible. But
Yeah.
also, like, at least it's confirmed that he is gonna, it is that version of the Goblin, at least, because I was thinking, oh, maybe it could be like I don't know. I mean, it might not even be that version of the Goblin.
I'm
It could
assuming
be a
it is. It's
different one. It
pretty
probably
implied.
is. Um,
Especially with that poster. That's flat out
yeah,
him.
yeah.
For it not to be him at this point would be a major disappointment. And I also know that obviously Kevin Feige came out saying, look, you guys are getting really hyped for things that probably aren't going to be in this film, and it's going to disappoint you. So just chill, which
Yeah.
I understand completely because the amount of theories about this film, I would say there have been more theories for this film than there have been for Endgame.
Mm.
People are excited, and I get why they're excited about the things they're excited about, but bit hopeful.
Yeah. Speaking of hope, the people that want the other Spideys to be in it. Um, Again, my friend Ben, again, another shout out to you, buddy. He said to me, like, I think after he saw the poster this morning, um, they're not on the poster, so I think that means they're not going to be in the trailer.
I'm starting to believe that the other Spider-Men aren't going to be in this. The see if you got web blood thing. I thought that might have been real. It looked pretty real, but yeah, we'll see. It's not long left.
Well, my response to it was they, at a push, put only 3 villains on the poster. So we already know there's going to be more in it. So maybe I wouldn't read too much into it because maybe they are just leaving the other Spider-Men for the trailer or even just to surprise everyone in the film, Let everyone
If
believe,
they
oh, they're
are,
not
I
going to be in
think it
it.
will be a surprise. Yeah, I don't think they would announce it.
Yeah, like, I mean, I was having this discussion the other day and, you know, um, Alfred Molina, uh, he wasn't even supposed to say anything supposedly about his role in it. So maybe all this marketing they've done so far uh was just in response to that, Maybe they weren't even going to reveal all these like villains. Maybe they were going to leave us as more of a surprise.
Hmm.
But then they just kind of thought, well, fuck it, he's already said it now. We might as well just make a bigger deal out of it. Maybe that's even a way of like subverting expectations and diverting people's attention away from the other Spider-Man, thinking, oh, it's just going to focus on the villains, whatever. And then bam, in the movie, surprise, here they are.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how I hope they do it anyway, because that would be awesome.
Hmm.
That would be better than like Cap grabbing Mjolnir.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
I mean, I was still super hyped for that anyway, but yeah. Probably I'm probably always going to be more hyped for that scene than just seeing the other Spider-Men who weren't particularly my favorites. So
and now seeing as Alex is confirmed to not be that excited for seeing the other two Spider-Men, we know that he had a terrible childhood.
I didn't have a terrible childhood, as I mentioned in the other podcast, in the first one, I like the first Raimi trilogy. I just didn't particularly like Tobey Maguire as Peter Parker.
Nice callback, buddy. Watch our other podcasts.
Yeah, watch our other podcast. As you just saw probably about like 3 minutes ago now, Pete put up Strike Force. Please sponsor us.
Yeah.
Give us those power cores.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but
And while you're googling some of the things we spoke about today, please subscribe to NordVPN.
no, we're not sponsored by them yet.
Yeah,
Please
I'm
sponsor us,
working on it.
NordVPN, and then go
It's
and
networking.
yeah. All right, let's get Pete back in.
Pete,
Yeah.
we're
We're
good.
done.
Okay. So we're finishing up the podcast, yeah?
We're finishing up the podcast, and we've
Yes,
got a few
indeed.
more sponsorships while we're at it.
Yeah, I heard about NordVPN. I'm pretty
Yeah.
one of the VPNs has been proven to be very problematic recently, but I can't remember if it was Nord. Anyways,
Hopefully it's not Nord.
Hopefully, yeah.
Alex, how about you do the outro, bud?
Okay. Thank you for joining us today on the Higgledy Piggledy podcast. We've got plenty of stuff for you to watch coming up. I'm working on a D&D campaign to run for these guys.
Oh.
Tom is like in the midst of dying, so enjoy that view. I think he's dead now. Rest in peace, Tom. We'll have his funeral and eulogy in just a couple of weeks. Not
We'll,
sure
we'll,
how many visitors we'll be accepting.
we'll do a
But yeah,
podcast for it though,
yeah, we'll do a podcast for it,
straight from
definitely.
the cemetery.
Yeah. But yeah, keep a lookout for some of the other stuff we're going to have on the channel. And enjoy the rest of your evening, day, afternoon, whatever time you're watching this, wherever you are.
Whoa,
Thank you for
guys!
watching.
I've just been to the other side. The spirit said like and subscribe.
That too. Thank you.
All right, I'm
Goodbye.
dying now. Bye.
I'm ending the recording.
You do that, buddy.